think is the #1 challenge facing Ward 3, and how would you fix it?
I would think that the #1 challenge, is this microphone, can you hear me? I would think the #1 challenge facing Ward 3 is the same thing to the rest of the entire city, which is the tax burden that we all bear living here in the city, whether we rent or whether we own. We pay an awful lot of money in taxes, and the city itself is looking at some serious financial issues heading down the line. That impacts all the other issues that are important to all of us. The quality of the school buildings, the quality of the school curriculum, the quality of your streets and your sidewalks, programs that we can provide for your children and for the community, things that address the needs of the community, all flow from the tax burden that we all carry.
We have a fortune same question. What do you see as the #1 issue in the ward, and how would you fix it?
Well, the #1 issue based on the undebate that we had about a week and a half ago is the division within our community. That's what people were talking about. We focused a lot on the division that currently exists in Ward 3. And so one of the reasons why I'm running is because I want to bridge that gap. I want to be the person to bring the community together, which is why I'm part of the Eastside Community Alliance. And so there are other issues that are impacting our ward, like Dan said, the taxes, issues with our schools. However, I think if we as a community can bring everyone together, because there are experts, there are many experts in our Ward 3. I mean, we have our state treasurer lives in our ward. So I think if we can bridge those gaps, get together to collectively come up with solutions to resolve these issues, I think we can conquer a lot of these pressing items that are impacting Ward 3. But the #1 thing was the division in our ward, and we need to fix that, because with the state of our federal government right now, if we're not engaging with one another, if we're not trying to address the issues, then we can't move forward. And also honest and transparent government, because one of the things that people have been saying is that they want to be able to access the person that's representing them, and they want a strong voice. And so I would say that those are the 2 issues that people discussed about 2 weeks ago.
You say 1, hoping to get them down to 2. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll hear from David. #1 issue in Providence in Ward 3, and how would you fix it?
Well, I think the #1 issue is education itself. Our school systems are failing, and our students are falling behind. And one of the things about education is it leads up to adult life and during the teenage years, that when children are not getting the education they properly deserve, they end up going into crime, and that causes problems throughout our ward and throughout our city. And we need to get ahead of it by giving a proper education and giving students a chance to actually do things in their community. So one of the things we can do is actually get more active with the students. I do believe that parents and teachers should be getting more active in school. We need to be able to get our police officers in our schools to actually communicate with our students, let them get to learn each other, and one-on-one personally, because if students who respect the law and respect the men and women behind the uniform are more likely to actually do less crime because they're actually being friends and they actually have respect for the law. But it comes down to education, 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 because without the education, we're going to find more teenagers out in the streets killing each other, and we just can't keep having that happen anymore.
All right. And now Mark Santo, #1 issue in Ward 3, and how would you fix it?
Sorry for the feedback. Okay. To me, the #1 issue that's facing the ward is actually very similar to the issue that's facing the city and the whole country, actually, in some ways, which is unequal opportunity. I think we see that very much within the ward. It came out in the discussion last week. There's a very clear sense, clear geographically, racially, and in terms of socioeconomic class within the ward, of unequal access to opportunity. and that manifests itself in all sorts of different kinds of ways, particularly with regard to public education, the lack of affordable housing here in Mount Hope and in the city as a whole, the lack of living wage jobs in Ward 3 and in the city as a whole, which connects to the issue of affordable housing, of course. To me, these are issues that stretch across our neighborhood and they stretch across our city as well. And I think part of the difficulty is that so much of the approach to educational policy, housing policy, economic policy, urban development here in Providence and in many other places for too long has essentially been about redistributing wealth and opportunity upwards instead of downwards. So I believe, and what I intend to do as a city councilman as best I can if I'm elected, is to try and shift our priorities towards putting more resources into public education, public school buildings, and the availability of pre-K in particular, and towards urban development that is more locally rooted and ecologically sustainable, that doesn't involve us giving away tax subsidies to outside entities, and trying to grow our own community as best we can. And of course, inequality leads to miscommunication, misunderstanding, and it also simply leads to very different life experiences. And I think a role of the city council person in this ward in particular is to be a kind of horizontal force for communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.